last word. Can the Aam Aadmi Party make a decisive impact at the next national election? That's the big subject tonight. My guests are Congress MP and spokesperson AVSEQ Singhvi, the BJP's deputy leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Ravi Shankar Prasad, the editorial chairman of the Outlook Group, Vinod Mehta, and joining us in a moment from the Aam Aadmi Party, one of its spokespersons, Rahul Mehra. Vinod Mehta, after the Aam Aadmi Party's spectacular performance in Delhi, do you believe that the party can decisively affect the results of the next national election, or is that simply too much to ask?
Well, Karan, you know, I'm a sort of supporter of the Aam Aadmi Party, but I think we are jumping too many bridges over here. I think Mr. Kejriwal's first task is to give a good and clean administration in Delhi. And if he keeps running around the country projecting himself as Prime Minister, then the administration in Delhi will suffer. I am a great believer in being in a hurry, but the AAP seems to be too much in a hurry. I think that they should consolidate the gains in Delhi, contest a few seats in India, in the urban seats. But I think all this, if all the energy is spent, there are just a few people there, Karan, half a dozen people.
Okay.
If they keep running around the country, who's going to look after them? It's very ill-advised, this rush for national fame.
And I take it that you're also saying that in addition to being ill-advised, if they do attempt to up a national elections, they'll come a cropper. Is that a corollary to your point?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. If they contest 300 seats and they win 10 seats, I mean, it's a very it'll reflect very badly on them.
Ravi Shankar Prasad, a totally opposite view to the one you've just heard from Vinod Mehta was expressed yesterday in the Times of India by Swaminathan Iyer. He went so far as to predict that the Aam Aadmi could actually end up heading a national coalition government in Delhi. How do you respond to that possibility or prospect?
Well, Karan, eminent journalists are entitled to their views. What is refreshing for me is that for the first time, Mr. Vinod Mehta is identifying his political preference very clear. He is for Aam Aadmi. Good. Maybe even Mr. Iyer. On a serious note, Karan, let me make 2 points. Whenever there is a yearning for change in the country, the voters of India are too mature to identify and recognize the instrument for that change. And you have seen now the days of uncertain voters, but it is gone. If they are giving third-term majority, they are giving two-thirds majority. They are electing Mamata Banerjee there, Akhilesh Yadav here. Similarly, in case of Lok Sabha, they are bound to go for BJP or the allies with Narendra Modi as the leader. Second part is concerned that we have seen these experiments in the past. I have been activist of JP movement. You know that what happened thereafter, though JP was a great leader. You have seen Praful Mohanta experiment. You have seen the experiment of VP Singh. You have seen the Congress Socialist Party experiment in the early 50s, where the towering intellectuals of India were on board like Minu Masani, Nath Pai, JP, Lohia, Achit Pardona, Ashok Mehta. Therefore, I think Mr. Vinod Mehta has a very valid point.
Okay.
I compliment their performance in Delhi. If they are too much ambitious, and that too upon shoulders of Congress party, they criticize Congress party as the biggest corrupt.
Okay.
Today they are surviving in power because of them. Therefore a lot of things have to come, and today the faux pas of Prashant Bhushan by itself is an indication that a lot of their vision is yet to be articulated with clarity, on which the people of India can form an opinion.
Let me pick up on that last point you've made and put it to AVSEQ Singhvi. To what extent, AVSEQ Singhvi, is the faux pas, as Ravi Shankar Prasad called it, by Prashant Bhushan, suggesting or talking about a referendum on the role the army plays in terms of internal security in Kashmir, something that could puncture the bubble of expectation? I won't say burst the bubble, but puncture the bubble of expectation that presently surrounds the Aam Aadmi Party.
No, I wouldn't say that this is that big an issue in the overall scheme of things that it will puncture their bubble. And to be fair, just yesterday I was on a program with Prashant where he did put lots of caveats to this Kashmir view of his. But certainly, yes, it shows that the party has national ambitions which it thinks would be compromised by such kind of very seemingly secessionist statements. I think it also shows that there is a certain group there who doesn't allow or doesn't want that anybody and everybody can say what they want. So I think in a sense for a nascent party it is good that there is a collectivity of discipline.
Okay.
And from what I hear, at least as I come to your program, that Prashant is also not given any major objections to the way in which he has been checked. But I would like to make two quick points, Karan, on the larger issue you've raised. I think, to be very specific, there is no chance in hell of the Aam Aadmi Party making a government. It's highly unlikely that they will make anything like a national coalition government. But equally, I think it is very important for every party, including the Congress,
Okay.
to be very careful and wary that they don't reach an inflection point. And an inflection point can be from as little as 30 to 50 seats in this fractious political climate.
Okay.
So I think it's very important for us as a Congress to be careful, and I certainly don't dismiss them casually or make fun of them or poke, something at them that they are nothing.
Rahul Mehra, I want to bring you in at this point. Yogendra Yadav, one of your senior colleagues, has said that your party will contest at least 250 to 300 seats in some 15 to 20 states. Prashant Bhushan has separately predicted that you could win 50 or 60 seats. And on top of all of this, you also intend to contest the Maharashtra Assembly elections and the Haryana Assembly elections. Now, is this just brave talk, or can a one-year-old party really pull this off?
Well, if you look at it from the prism of the politics which has been going on over the last more than 67 years in our country, it is not only ambitious, but probably it's foolish to expect any of the things that we are talking about. But India has moved on. The people of India and the demography of India is very different than the people of yesteryears. So, you've recently seen who would have expected just a one-year-old party to form a government in a state. I mean, it's not even thinkable. Forget about, when we talk about pragmatism, this is surely not in the realm of any practical, aspirations or, the kind of things that happen in the past. So all that we are saying is that there is a huge turnaround in the mood and the sentiment of the people of India.
Okay.
There is an upsurge. There is a kind of expectation. People are all the hopeless people are today hoping and expecting lots of good things to come. The political discourse has changed.
Okay.
Accountability and transparency is seeping in. The funding is being made transparent. There are people who are being engaged. People are participating. It's becoming a participatory democracy rather than a representative democracy. And therefore, please do not count us out. Yes,
okay.
What those numbers are going to be, I really can't say.
Absolutely. Let's not get into the numbers game, because that is a rogue's game. But the point you're making is a good point. The unbelievable could just be possible. That is the extent to which Aam Aadmi has changed people's expectations. But in that case, Vinod Mehta, if the Aam Aadmi Party is really going to seriously contest the national elections, despite your advice strongly to the contrary, won't Arvind Kejriwal's refusal to stand impact badly on their performance, and should he not reconsider in that case?
Well, Karan, this is a catch-22 situation. I think we must realize that the Aam Aadmi Party at the moment revolves around one person, and that is Arvind Kejriwal. Now, how many directions can you pull him in? At the moment, he is the core figure in the party. He keeps everybody in check. Prashant Bhushan says something, he immediately corrects him. So he is there to mind the shop. But if he is pulled in 50 different directions, who's going to mind the shop? And the shop is in Delhi.
All right.
I think that all this 30, 35 seats, I mean, I would love them to get 35 seats. I would love them to pose a real challenge to Narendra Modi. But we also have to be practical and see things in the realms of possibility.
Let me put it like this, and I'll put this issue to AVSEQ Singhvi, who took the Aam Aadmi Party a little bit more seriously than I thought Ravi Shankar Prasad did. I'm going to go back to Swaminathan Iyer's arguments in yesterday's Times of India. He says that if the Aam Aadmi Party can win 40 seats, something he believes is perfectly possible, then not only will the Aam Aadmi Party deprive both Congress and BJP of an opportunity of forming a government, but it will also emerge as the biggest constituent of a third front. And his conclusion, which I'm going to quote to you, is this would give Kejriwal excellent credentials to become Prime Minister of a third front government. Abhishek Singhvi, how do you respond to that?
I think there is a bit of excess and hype there, clearly. I don't think that's going to be possible. But I must, this is a serious discussion, I must therefore repeat that the Indian system, which follows the British system, it depends on how concentrated your votes are. Just 3 days ago, somebody published a very interesting statistical article and said that if you get 6% votes, which is what the BSP got some years ago, and that's 26 million votes. If you get them in just 200 or 150 seats concentrated, you can get 30-40. If you get them in 543 constituencies spread over, you will not. You will get nothing. You will get zero. So that is where a concentrated, focused approach by the Aam Aadmi can be of danger to established parties, and that's why I'm not dismissive of them.
Okay.
It depends very much as to how concentrated they can make that 26 million vote if they get 6%.
You know, Ravi Shankar Prasad, as you heard from Abhishek Singhvi, a lot depends upon which constituencies they choose and how carefully they've thought about their possibilities and prospects there. And the reason it depends on that is because during the last state elections, a number of polls suggested that people who were going to vote for Aam Aadmi in Delhi were likely to vote for BJP and Narendra Modi at a national level. But now, if the Aam Aadmi Party itself is contesting nationally, many of those voters may choose to stick with Aam Aadmi and not go the BJP way. Won't this damage your party in particular?
First of all, then you are underestimating the capacity of Indian voters to choose the right instrument in the case of national election, in the case of state elections. I'm quite sure the people of the country will surely elect Narendra Modi, the BJP, with good number of seats. How it pans out, let's leave it for a moment. But don't forget one thing. They have caught the imagination. I am not dismissive of them. But they are basically a Delhi phenomena. Because of Anna Hazare's fast here, the massive agitation Ramila ground, they working here, then many of their whole friends like Kiran Bedi and all leaving them. But they were active in Delhi for the last couple of years. And that is certainly a matter of credit for them.
Okay.
But to establish an all India party, Karan Thapar, being an activist from my student days, you have to work very hard. They don't have the time. That's the first thing I would like to say. Second, this whole Mr. Iyer's article, let me take it. How many PM probables are there in the so-called quote-unquote third front? Jayalalitha ji, Mamta ji, Mulayam Singh Yadav, Nitish Kumar, Lalu Prasad. Come on.
Okay.
We are talking about so much of ego hassles. Therefore, that is a very, the whole politics of India has travelled much beyond. It is either a Congress-centric coalition or a BJP-centric coalition. And they want a stable government, a change. Don't underestimate that yearning of the people of the country.
I'll take up this big point about the yearning for change in a moment's time, but I want to pick up first on some of the notes of caution that you sounded and put them to Rahul Mehra. You know, Rahul Mehra, when you attempted an Andolan in Bombay, when Anna was still at the head of the movement, it was visibly a flop. And that, for many, is a marker of how you might perform when you try and widen beyond Delhi, a city where you're comfortable, a city you're familiar with. Do you think that there are lessons from the Bombay example that you need to heed very carefully? A quick answer.
Yes, it was. And if we would have followed with another Andolan of the similar sort in Delhi, we would have met the same fate, which is why, you know, people were tired of Andolans and they realized that the corrupt political establishment that we had, which had a conflict of interest in having a Lokpal, will not give it unless and until you enter politics, and which is why Aam Aadmi Party was created. Okay. That's the way the Aam Aadmi Party's origin is. You know, to address the issue of Ravi Shankar Prasad, Delhi was not a rare phenomenon. Delhi was a catalyst for Aam Aadmi Party. Now, to say that Delhi, you know, it is a bipolar contest was also in Delhi. Like you are now arguing that it's a bipolar contest all over India. Now, the same people have completely negated the politics of Congress, and BJP has been restricted. Why is it so difficult to expect that the people of India are connected to the people of Delhi, and Delhi is a part of India?
Absolutely.
And what happens in Delhi also percolates and resonates all over India.
Rahul Mehra,
why is it so difficult for other political parties to engage with that concept?
That's a very good point you make. Let's take a break while the audience thinks carefully about that answer to Ravi Shankar's note of caution, and then come back and ask, Aam Aadmi undoubtedly has an urban appeal, but does it have an appeal that extends to rural India? And might that be the obstacle on which the party stumbles? See you in a moment's time after the break. Welcome back to The Last Word. How will the Aam Aadmi Party fare at the forthcoming national elections? Vinod Mehta, there's absolutely no doubt that the Aam Aadmi Party has a fairly irresistible urban appeal, but does it have a rural appeal?
We just don't know, Karan. The answer to that is we simply don't know. But the Aam Aadmi estimates that there are 200 urban seats, and they have a good chance in those. Now, I am not denying the fact that the Aam Aadmi Party has resonance all over India to a certain extent. So it's not the resonance that's the problem.
Okay.
It's the organization, it's the structure, it's the manpower. They have got about 2 months to fulfill all these things. And I think if they fail on the national level, and if the Delhi administration suffers because of that, I think they are in very serious trouble. I would recommend to them to concentrate on Delhi, make Delhi a success, and use that as a springboard for further forays into the...
Okay, I take your point that this is a high-risk strategy, but I'll sidestep that because that's a little different to the issue I'm really discussing. And instead, Ravi Shankar Prasad, I want to put this to you. There are no doubt doubts that remain about Aam Aadmi's appeal in rural India. But that said and done, there's also no doubt that the party is attracting enormous attention in Haryana and Maharashtra. So could it be the case that once again Aam Aadmi might surprise us by showing that it does have substantial rural appeal, which translates into votes and seats?
Well, Karan, being the new kids on the block, there is certainly an excitement about them. Good luck to them. Anyone can dream in politics, that's what democracy is about. But trademark and track record in public life are two things. You have made a trademark of being an agitationist and a good agitation. But you have to deliver your track record by performance, as Vinod Mehta rightly pointed out. Coming to the national appeal, Karan, with my little experience, if I can share that for the sake of viewers, Loknayak Jayaprakash Narayan, in whose movement I had the privilege to participate, was an iconic character of the freedom movement. Yet he collected all the non-Congress opposition. VP Singh, who had a good name in the wake of opposition to Rajiv Gandhi and the Bofors deal, also had to take both the left and the right and the BJP and the CPI and CPM and all together along with Janata Party, the fledgling Janata Party. A country of the enormity and the size of India, you just cannot hope to influence electorally the entire country without some strong hard work. Without being tasted and proven by a good track record of governance.
I take your point.
They have to, still to satisfy.
I take your point.
And by the way, don't forget last thing. As they have promised, they must show taking action on the corruption issue against Congress leaders.
Well, yeah, not just the corruption issue.
Will continue to haunt them.
I'll take up this question about delivery in a moment's time with Rahul Mehra, but first I want to put this to you, AVSEQ Singhvi. The main appeal that Aam Aadmi has is that they are not Congress, they are not BJP, and they are very different from the two of you. And for a country which is disillusioned with its politicians and political parties, that might prove to be irresistible. Do you fear that on that ground alone, Aam Aadmi could evoke an enormous response at the national elections?
Well, if I was honest and candid, I think you're right. Because whatever appeal they have, little, medium or big, is entirely because of a genuine disillusionment and sometimes anger with all established political formations. That's the reality and the truth, which unless you accept and realize, you are living in cloud cuckoo land and you are living like an ostrich in the sand. So I think it's fair to say that. But you raise an equally important question, Karan, which is the rural-urban. I think very quickly there, first and foremost, this is the biggest challenge for them, although they are likely to get over the challenge by merely doing some 100, 200 seats. There is a whole different set of rural issues not similar to the ones which they have raised in the manifesto, which are largely urban-centric.
Okay.
Even I would go that far to say that corruption of the kind they're talking about is not an issue in many rural areas. And the only lucky thing they have going for them is that India is more and more becoming rurban, neither urban nor rural.
What a lovely word.
So
I congratulate you on that. Rurban. It sounds like a rare steak. Remember, rare steaks are often the best. But I take your point that rural India may prove to be another country. Very quickly, Rahul Mehra, because time is our enemy. I noticed that your government in Delhi is determined to deliver on its promises as fast as possible. You've already delivered free water, you've reduced electricity charges, you're auditing discoms. Are you doing this with an eye on the fact that this could prove very impressive for the national voters when they look back and see how quickly you delivered in Delhi? And is this a strategy to win votes in the national election? A very quick answer.
Our strategy is plain and simple. We want to play the politics of the people, for the people and by the people. We want to not rule them, not govern them, but be the servants to their masters. We are walking our talk, Karan. Okay. And I'll give you some examples.
No,
yes, we are a party in a hurry. The reason for that is people of India have waited for long and they can't wait anymore. So yes, apart from the 3 measures that you've talked about, there are 10 others which I can tell you
don't go into
about.
Those.
But
I think you proved your point that you are delivering in a hurry, and I'm going to stop you
just
there
one small
because
point,
we're running out of time, Rahul.
Just one small point.
Very quickly.
Okay, just 10 seconds. You know, just look at the membership that we have got over the last 3 weeks. More than 12 lakh people have already enrolled in all parts of India. Now, this is not a battle that Aam Aadmi Party as a political party or a political movement is pitching for.
I take your
point. It is a battle of the common man.
They are fighting for the
Aam Aadmi Party and using Aam Aadmi Party as an instrument.
That itself is a sign that people are warming to it and maybe a possibility that they will in fact vote for it. But as you said, time alone will tell. It's a big, intriguing question. How well will Aam Aadmi perform at the national elections? And could we be headed for another surprise? The question is, what sort of surprise would it be? My thanks to all 4 of my guests for joining me. And if you have been, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.